Hello, and welcome to Scott's Odyssey. In a previous video regarding the Seven Gates of Hell, I identified aspects of the origin story possibly coming out of Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania. That story is the one of Devil's Road and the Colt House, which, unfortunately, you're going to learn about right now. See you in a minute. Welcome back. If you've watched my videos before, thank you for your patronage, and if you're new to Scott's Odyssey, welcome aboard. To find this location was no easy feat on the internet. All the tales seem like just a retelling from M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's movie, The Village. It wasn't until I queued up my VPN, bounced around the world a couple of times, then dropped into the underside of the web to find the real information regarding this story. So, after not finding anything regarding the Devil's Road and Colt House of Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania, I did come across some breadcrumbs that led me much deeper into the dark web. The first trick was not looking for Chadds Ford, but what they actually So, after not finding anything regarding the Devil's Road and Colt House of Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania, I did come across some breadcrumbs that led me much deeper into the dark web. The first trick was not looking for Chadds Ford, but what they actually call this area, Satansville. The next step was not looking for Devil's Road, but Cosart Road. That led me to the story I wish I never heard, and you'll wish I never told. Traveling along Cosart Road in Satansville, Pennsylvania, you will find yourself on a narrow, warped, and curvy road hidden by darkness created by the surrounding trees and holler it passes through. It's within the first few hundred feet that you realize why the locals call it the Devil's Road. There's a heaviness to the dark tunnel created by the trees overhead that only opens up when you reach the area just before and just after the gate shack of Cosart Manor Drive. And with all the chatter about what took place at the DuPont Stone Manor with its cult. Yeah, these tales are far too dark to even retell, let alone remember and imagine what I learned. In brief, it was said the DuPont family, in order to keep their noble title and their blood pure, had a habit of in-marrying with cousins, keeping the family and their money within the DuPont regime. It was also said that this particular mansion was where a satanic cult met on a regular basis with the belief that they could rid the world of its impurities. Those who have attempted to travel up to the manor make fantastical claims of the property and of having feelings of incredibly strong powers emanating from the grounds that can only be explained as some sort of dark magic. They say the power is so strong you could see it on the road as you drive by because all the old trees are twisted and face west, away from the mansion and away from sunlight. And then about a quarter of a mile down the road, those wretched looking trees are suddenly growing straight and strong, tall and unaffected by whatever blight the former which are located closer to the Colt House. I heard one person talk about how the roots of those twisted trees stand bare from the land, and that it was because the DuPonts would sacrifice any of their inbred children whom were born deformed or retarded. Then the trees would devour those bodies and take on the twisted form of their food. One tree in particular even formed its roots in the shape of a child's skull, and it's commonly referred to as the skull tree. And if the stories are not true, then why did the county take it upon themselves to fill the root area of the tree with a brick wall and later concrete? And if the now abandoned manor was not that of a cult, why does it sit empty? And why are there so many no stopping and no trespass signs all over the edges of the property? I engaged in some talks with people who are more vested in these stories and who consciously decided to visit this location at night. They speak of seeing random piles of dead animals. Yes, piles of dead animals. Upside down crosses stuck in the ground and burned as if members of the KKK held vigils there. Of hearing whispers in the open field approaching the manor, and others talk of large black trucks with bright lights or being chased by men with black hoods and blinding flashlights. Although I do not have a personal experience with this site, I do have a lot of information from viable sources. And with all of this information, it was more than compelling that if there's anything you need to know about Satanville, Devil's Road, the Colt House, or the Skull Tree, it's to stay away from this area and forget you ever heard of it. And that is the story of Devil's Road, or is it? Pierre Samuel DuPont de Nemours was a French entrepreneur, businessman, and philanthropist who established himself and his family's name with King Louis XVI, which is how his family earned the noblesse, or the noble condition designating nobility, of Nemours in the late 1700s or so. During the early 1800s, Pierre's son, Eliezer Irene, founded a gunpowder manufacturing plant in northern Delaware. Yes, I butchered that French name. And thus was born E.I. DuPont de Nemours and Company, and one of the richest and most prominent families of the 19th century. And it did not stop there. Although the company was in northern Delaware, the family had multiple chateaus built just 7 miles away in Pennsylvania, which at that time may or may not have been part of the infamous 12-mile circle in the Wedge, which I talk about those border disputes in the video, Stargazer Stone, a line drawn in the sand stone. Regardless, their empire of chateaus and land were founded in and around Delaware County and Chester County in Pennsylvania, with a few that bled over into the northern part of the Delaware state. So what about this particular manor on Cosart Road? Let's start looking into the details first. The story starts off on Cosart Road in Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania. Or does it? You see, Cosart Road is not in Chadds Ford, Pennsylvania. It's in Pennsbury, between Route 52 and ending at Creek Road along the Brandywine Creek, or as some might say, the Brandywine River, and even fewer may say the Brandywine Stream. And well, from a hydrography, limnology, or hydrology scientific aspect, and most definitely a tangential piece of information, the Brandywine can technically be called a creek, stream, or river because it meets all the conditions for all three. So why is it said to be in Chadds Ford? Well, the reality is that at one time, a long time ago, it was partly Chadds Ford, just as Pennsbury was Kennet Township. And now it is not Chadds Ford, but Chadds Ford is a tourist trap to the area. I mean, its American history starts all the way back in the 1730s, being one of the 5 main routes out of the Philadelphia area, including the area's namesake, John Chadds, ferry service across the Brandywine. And then there's the Battle of Brandywine and the Revolutionary War that took place right there in Chadds Ford, which brings in the many stories of all the ghost soldiers and ghost horses that are visions these people have and they claim to see there when they go and visit, as well as M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's movie, The Village, took place right here because, well, he was raised and lives just a short distance from this location. So I assume he grew up with all this lore as well. Yeah, but why are the trees bent? The trees are bent because they are on the north side of the road, not east to west as the story claims. This means the trees want to bend south due to the simple fact that we live in the northern hemisphere, and with the tilt of the earth, the sun actually rises in the southeast and sets in the southwest. Couple that with these trees being on the north side of the road means they bent toward the south or over the road. And well, that also means the power lines or telephone poles were on the north side of the road, and these trees needed to have their southern leaning branches cut away so as not to interfere with either the power lines or the road. What about the trucks chasing trespassers? Yes, they are very real, but they're not black. They were at one time red and unmarked. I've heard they are all now white. And that's the security company that manages the property. What about the black hooded guys chasing people? Well, at night, you probably wouldn't know the difference between a black hooded person or a person in a black or navy blue security uniform with any kind of hat, especially when they're using a bright flashlight to see who they are chasing off the property. If you place a request to the Pennsbury Township Police, you can actually get a significantly long record of reports from these security guards and from the police department actually needing to respond to a lot of trespassers. As a matter of fact, the local township records show that it's been so bad at times with the trespassers that there was one time they had to put up barricades and an hourly patrol to chase off would-be explorers. Especially because it's very easy to make the mistake of turning off from the windy Cosart Road onto the private Cosart Manor Drive near the end of the road before getting on the Creek Road. But what about the manor? Does it really exist? Well, yes. There's a manor of sorts. And there's a story that a cult did occupy that building at one time, but it doesn't pan out very well with the recorded history. There is, on the other hand, the 1980s murders of Wayne Sampson, Dwayne Lincoln, and James Johnston, all shot and buried near the manor property by Norman Johnston, but no connection with any actual cult. Additionally, for the manor, it was never owned by anyone directly or indirectly related to the DuPonts. Just a really well-to-do farmer, which is why it's a large stone farmhouse and not actually a manor. But hey, if a few rich yuppies want to call their home that is significantly bigger than yours and really old and made of stone a manor, who are you to contest it? The worst part of the trespass is that there really truly are a large number of no stopping and no trespassing signs all along the road. The no stopping is because the road is so narrow and winding that it creates a large number of blind turns. So stopping is an almost guaranteed car accident waiting to happen. If you drive past the manor road one too many times, or if you're found stopping along the road, the security guards will get into their trucks and start a patrol up and down the road to ensure that nobody's attempting to sneak onto the property. And that's where the stories of being chased come from. But that's not the entire debunk of this urban legend. The reason why stories like this continue to persist is due to the amount of truth that stays in the story and is hard to unforget once it's heard. The DuPont family really did own tons of property and had many, many chateaus in this area. They really were known to inbreed with family members at one point, maintaining their nobility. which makes no difference here in the United States. As a matter of fact, it's absolutely un-American to even have ideals that lean toward titles, and is why I'm not a personal fan of our legal system that calls lawyers Esquire, because it means nothing if you're a true citizen of the United States. But you can watch my whole tirade on that matter in the video, Are You Free in the United States?, which coincidentally gets absolutely buried by the YouTube AI algorithm. Regardless, many of those estates are now museums, like Longwood Gardens and Winterthur. Were there really remains of a baby found in the road of the tree at Skull Tree? Maybe. There were remains found in the tree, and the police were involved sometime in the late 60s, early 70s. But the report is incomplete. The stories say a woman gave birth or stillbirthed a baby and left the child under the tree roots. Some newspapers claim it was a baby, but other papers say it was an animal wrapped in a blanket. Either way, the simple reality is that the roots get washed out by rain in conjunction with the cut in the road. The site became such a nuisance because of the stories turned urban legend that the township did indeed seal it up with bricks and later came back with concrete to finish the job. Something that was actually done very often to trees when their trees are very large, old, and pose a risk to the people but are too pretty or too useful to cut down. In the end, we find once again that we have a location with an urban legend based on half-truths and fantastic imaginations with the intent of keeping people away. I'm not saying that things like cults don't exist. Heck, even the Satanic Temple won their freedom of speech lawsuit against Silicon Valley School District, which must now permit the after-school Satan Club in none other than Hellertown, Pennsylvania. Hellertown? You can't make this shit up. Not only was the school district too stupid to stop an after-school cult, but nobody thought to keep it out by using the argument of no religion in the public school system, even though they are the ones who kicked religion out of schools in the first place. But what I'm saying is, the next time you hear a tale that sounds too far out of this world, put your moral panic on hold and watch out for the perpetual state of fear that other people want to keep you in. And maybe you should take a moment and realize that every history has a story. Give this video a like. Take a moment to subscribe for more ODDySEEy histories. Share the video out to people you think might be interested, and be sure to leave a comment below with your thoughts about the Devil's Road and Cult House and Skull Tree. As always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.